I think the thing about Andy that I think is he's the first comedian that I wondered if he was funny sometimes. It's like, you know he's funny because I've seen him be really hysterical, but sometimes he wouldn't be at all. And that was, when you would think about it, it would just bother you. And I think that's just as effective as making somebody laugh, right?
But I knew from his friends, especially Elaine Boozler, she said they used to go out a lot for the day. They'd go to the beach or they'd spend a day at museums, and he'd call her up or she'd call him, and he'd say, "Who do you want to be with today?"
And in each block, he would be a different character. Like he would be I don't know, some Armenian grocer, and then the next block he would be like a bag lady, and in the next block he would be a Vietnam vet or whatever, and he would just do it wherever he was walking, and he would use the street to change gears.
He'd give her a choice: Elvis, Tony Clifton, or the character from Taxi, Latka. It became Latka. I don't know what it was called originally. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for that guy. And she'd say like Elvis, and he'd be Elvis all day. Every restaurant, every gas station, wherever they went. Well, thank you. Well, thank you. You know, it's like
including lovemaking, I hear.
I don't know about that. I never had sex with him. But you know, he never asked.
After Andy had hit pretty big on Taxi, he still would come back to the club. He wasn't booked then, but he would come back and visit, and he liked to take myself and all the waitresses out onto the Cyclone, the greatest roller coaster in Brooklyn, in Coney Island. And Andy was like the king of the ride because he wouldn't just go on once, he wanted to go on 5, 6, 7 times in a row, and with that boyish enthusiasm of, hey, anybody want to go on again? And after this, we can go on the bumper cars.
Then one time we went during the day, and there was this horror ride. It was this horror ride on Coney Island. You know, one of those little pathetic horror rides, you know, where you sit in the car and it hasn't scared anyone in half a century because it's so pathetic, with the cracks underneath the door, and you can see the light pouring in, and you can see all the strings on the skeletons. And we got in there, and we got into a cart with Andy, and suddenly he starts screaming his head off. Like screaming his head off. And the Puerto Rican family that ran this thing came running, because never in a quarter of a century had this piece of shit ride ever scared anyone. And this guy was screaming, and tears were streaming down his eyes. And we got out. Finally the car came out, you know, into broad daylight, and he's clutching his heart and tears are streaming, and he goes, "It was frightening, it was frightening, it's horrible, I've never been so scared in my life." And the whole family came running, and they were giving him aspirin and putting cold compresses on his head and looking at each other like, this guy's nuts, because this has never scared anyone over the age of 3.
He knew this would make so much trouble, and yet it was all scripted. And like me with Tony Clifton, Seth, I'm going to dump the water on your head. It's just this little polite, gentle soul that knew this mischief will cause this effect.
So he had this idea that he was going to play this mean lounge guy named Tony Clifton. And so he comes up, he still looks like Andy, and anybody in the audience that knows Andy Kaufman knows that this is Andy acting like somebody. But he's so committed to this character that he gets him into, you know, doing this little sleazy song, and then he brings a guy up and goes, "You like a good joke?" And I say, I'm the guy, I say, "Yeah, sure, I like a good joke." And Andy takes a pitcher of ice water and spills it on my head. And the crowd hates him. The crowd now is like, "Boo, you suck, Andy." And I had to act like I was pissed off, like I was a customer, and the audience go, what is this bullshit? The fuck was that? And I looked like I was going to hit him, and the crowd's like, "Yeah, hit him." And I'm like, shit, I'm going to complain to the manager, right? So I storm off, and that was the thing we rehearsed in the bar, is what I was supposed to do. And then he had to dig himself out of the crowd hating him. That became like his new favorite thing. I've never seen anybody, like a lot of comics, they pose, they pretend they don't care. Andy Kaufman didn't care. He didn't get the I care chip installed in the motherboard of his computer. He loved digging out of the hole.
When he wrestled women, the whole country was talking about it. Everyone remembers at that time. Is this guy nuts? He was never injured. He was never, you know, with Jerry Lawler, he wasn't injured. He wore the neck brace and he played the role. And he wore that neck brace for months.
You know that accident with that wrestler, or that supposed accident with the wrestler? I was at his house. His brother Michael, who I was great friends with, was there too. The Kaufman siblings were there. We were in great neck. And Andy was sitting there with a neck brace going, oh, 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 what a terrible thing. And then somebody said, let's all go swimming to the local swimming place. So we all went swimming. And suddenly the neck brace comes off and Andy's diving into the pool. Everything's fine. He's enjoying his swimming. And then he comes out, and when he's done with the swimming, he puts the neck brace back on and goes, oh, I've been injured. And people believe this.
I invited him up to watch my first. I always loved the French Connection car chase. So I gotta recreate it, but change one thing, so I put a Hasidic Jew behind the wheel. Instead of missing everyone, the Hasidic Jew has just got bad eyesight. So Andy starts watching it, and after I shut it off and I said, what do you think? And it was like a little boy in Christmas, or in Andy's case, Hanukkah, and he goes, Seth, I can't believe it looks exactly like the French Connection. And that's when Andy went into, you know, Seth, I wrote this whole thing about, you know, I wrote the Tony Clifton story, and it's a feature film. Like, how much would that cost to make?
He wanted his audience to be brought into a new milieu. Milieu, which is environment, when there was no EPA.
Just like a little boy and the most gentle soul. I still have not met a soul that pure.